But neither of the parts understood ascent as the production of Sanskrit modified states, or descent as seeing through the Sanskrit modified states into the Sanskrit unmodified condition. They saw it differently. They saw it as building something or regression. And that the point is not to regress to the state of a baby or intrauterine experience, but the point is to undo this self-deceit and face our true reality, which related to Frank means going through this scary phase and going into the inside of the temple, this spiritual ascent may be achieved by means of healthy, positive conditioning, yield by pacification like shamatha, is a kind of Buddhist meditation, and other kinds of conditioning meditation, which boosts the already discussed illusion or bad faith so that more desirable Sanskrit states may be achieved. For example, the achievement of a god of sensuality, wisdom one, who gets a lot of power and pleasure and so on within this sensual condition, or the achievement of a god of form by means of a steady concentration on a figure. This is produced by a certain karma, but karma means habit. I mean, people understand karma in a very, very metaphysical way that I don't want to get involved into that acceptation. Yeah? Here, karma means habit. And finally, of course, this will be impermanent because it's created. Whatever is created, destroys itself. Whatever is conditioned, put together, will go apart, fall apart. Yeah? And finally, the achievement of a god of formlessness, which may be achieved by means of a steady absorption beyond the figure-ground division, the third transpersonal condition we discussed before. And this I will relate also to psychedelic experience if I have time at the end. But so far I haven't done that. I mean, until this point I won't do that, yeah? Anyhow, that is also impermanent. That's why the teachers of the Buddha fell down from that state and had to face suffering again, and they got angry when the would-be Buddha left them because it hurt their egos and so on, yeah? Okay, so none of this fixes the problem of life because when the karma that sustains these states is exhausted, we fall down and nothing has been achieved, yeah? And then, because we have a more panoramic awareness, when we get aware of suffering again, we are going to reject it more strongly, and that will potentiate that suffering, and we will go into a psychological realm of hell. Okay, then descent as seen through the Sanskrita or modified into the Asanskrita or unmodified. This is what I call meta-phenomenological descent. In my presentation at the colloquium, well, I showed normality to be a deluded insanity that yielded the ecological crisis that is about to destroy us unless we undergo a radical change at the global level. Yeah? And the point that I want to make today is that the path to achieve this definitive healing of that insanity is descendant. In this sense, not in the regressive sense, for it can only be irreversible if it lies in a spontaneous and thus a Sanskrita seeing through all that is Sanskrita, into the Asanskrita through condition which alone is perfectly and ultimately authentic, and in the long run coming to live in that condition. Yeah? When the propensity for the Sanskrita to arise are exhausted, are burnt out, then they won't arise anymore, and we will be forever in that condition. Yet, there will be spontaneous activities for the benefit of self and others. In the Atasalini, Theravada teacher Buddhaghosa illustrated this. He says that the ascending path lies in establishing healthy attitudes and meditative practices confined to the sphere of sensuality, form, and formlessness that build up and may grow birth and death Birth and death means psychological birth and death. We are always undergoing this in a never-ending circle, and therefore are called building up practices. And he compared that with a man who is building a wall 15 cubits high. And the other one, he referred to a meditation called the tearing down one. And he illustrated with a man who takes a hammer and breaks down and demolishes any part that it is erected. And of course, this imagery is active. It means that one is doing something, but that's not the point, because he made the point that what we have to do is to create a deficiency in those conditions that tend to produce birth and death. That is to produce a deficiency in self-deceit, so that we can no longer deceive ourselves and are forced down or drawn into the center of the mandala in terms of the imagery I mentioned when I made a question to Frank before. Sanai and Rumi, in the Sufi tradition, he illustrated this with the competition between the Greek and the Chinese painters. A king proposed a competition between two groups of artists. One of them, and he gave them rooms facing each other, yeah? With the doors facing each other. And one of them painted the walls in an exquisite way, absolutely unbelievable, whereas the other one began to polish the walls because they were originally mirrors. Then, when the first group finished and the king came to see, he was marveled before this great work of art, and then he assumed that this artist had won the contest. But when he came out, the other artist opened the door, and all that was in this room was reflected in the walls of the other rooms in an unbelievably more striking way. So, of course, this wall robbers somehow won the contest. Yeah? That is the same meaning. Yeah? You have to undo rather than build. Whatever is built is unauthentic, is false, and it will come apart. Whereas, if we destroy what is produced, destroy self-deceit, create a deficiency in that self-deceit, we can come to what is authentic. There is a dialogue in Zen Buddhism between these two teachers, and one of them was sitting in meditation, and the other one came and said, "What are you doing?" "Sitting in meditation." "Why are you sitting in meditation?" "To achieve Buddhahood." "And how you can make a Buddha by..." Well, and then he began to rub a tile. And then the other one said, "What are you doing?" "A mirror." "And how can you make a mirror by rubbing a tile, by polishing a tile?" And then he said, "And how are you going to make a Buddha by sitting on meditation?" Yeah? You are creating something. If you are creating something, that will fall apart. Buddhahood is innate in us. It's the Buddha nature. It's our true condition. What we have to do is to see through all that is conditioned, produced, and so on, into this nature which is unconditioned, unproduced, which is our original face, and it's also like a mirror. This is illustrated by Dante's Divine Comedy also, which is another image that I wanted to mention when Frank had his talk. Also in Paleo-Siberian shamanism, they have the same image also, as in the Divine Comedy. This going down through the hells in order to go to the other side and then arrive in heaven. According to existentialism, what is authentic is the being of the human individual. For example, according to Sachs, the being of consciousness is anguish. The experience, the exact experience, the true authentic experience of the being of consciousness is anguish. And the authentic experience of being for others, that is becoming what others see as us, is shame. But we are always, through self-deceit, modifying this experience in order to turn anguish into elation and shame into pride by getting others to like us. and project a good image in us and becoming that image, and then go like a picture. But here we go through the hell until delusion is purged. We come to the bottom of hell where there is this hole. So long as we are descending through hell, it seems that this is an endless process, that there is no way out. But when we come to the very bottom of hell, which is the most painful experience, duality is more clear than ever. And if we look into the looker, who is rejecting pain, who is rejecting anguish, it may happen that this duality breaks and we go through the other side, and then we realize this process is not eternal hell, but it's a process of purging delusion, that's purgatory. Purging delusion in order to be in heaven, but in a definitive heaven, not in a relative condition heaven like the God realms of Buddhism. Then we go through purgatory, which means that every time delusion arises, we go through conflict, but it immediately resolves itself and we are in absolute plenitude. And then when conflict is not so strong anymore, we are already in heaven, then we begin to ascend in heaven until we reach the Empyrean, which is union with Beatrice in Dante's terms. Yeah? Okay, so this corresponds in terms of Buddhist Dzogchen to the Akanishta Ganavyuha Pure Land, this final state. Yeah? Now, contrary to the metaphenomenological descent leading to total authenticity and definitive sanity, Ken Wilber posits a phenomenological ascent, which involves the arising of successive basic structures resulting from a multidimensional learning and a conjunction of a main cause and secondary circumstances, and therefore are produced a recent modified Samskrita, and as such impermanent, spurious, inauthentic, and pertaining to samsara. And these are maintained when development continues to a higher level because they integrate themselves into all subsequent basic structures, each founded on the former and arising after the former is firmly established. This is like stories of a Babel or Babel, I don't know how you pronounce that, Babel Tower, in order to reach heaven. It's impossible. You cannot reach heaven by building. You have to go down to hell through the Divine Comedy way and go through the other side. Yeah? Okay, so at best, this way we can go into the formless realms of Buddhism, which are built, constructed, no way. Yeah? And then we have these transitional or replacement structures, which are ways in which the world is experienced through the basic structures of a psychic level, and which, unlike the former, are not preserved on proceeding to higher psychic levels, but which, since they depend on the former, are also produce modified conditions and thus Samskrita. Besides, Wilber posits a self that identifies with successive basic structures, thus giving rise to fulcra. Since identification cannot occur without a subject-object duality, and the conjunction of the self that identifies with that with which it identifies, fulcra are produced and conditioned and as such pertain to samsara.